Well, shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm going to show you today how I do Pasach lamb. I'm going to give you my recipe. I'm going to show you my cooking techniques. I'm going to give you a couple of hints on how I do this. First big tip, you got to have a decent leg of lamb. I like this is imported from Australia. I like the way that they raise their lambs there. This one is free range. No antibiotics, none of that good chemical stuff that we put in things here in the United States. And you know it's Australian because it says right there, Australian inspected. Okay? So, this has been, and the reason I like the Australian meat is because as it's coming over, it's being shipped. It takes a couple of weeks for it to actually get here. So in the meantime, it's packed and it's wet curing on its way. This has been sitting in my refrigerator for about 10 days now. I'm allowing it to continue to wet cure. I don't freeze it. I leave it in its natural state. But if you allow it to wet cure, what you're going to find is it makes the meat, look at that. Look at it. Makes it nice and tender. Oh my goodness. Look how nice and tender that is. Yum. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unpack it, we're going to wash it with cold water, and then we're going to pat it dry with paper towels. Don't use terry cloth because you'll leave little pieces of cloth on it. You don't want that. So let's get started on this, and then I'll show you what spices we're going to use, okay? Okay, we have the lamb, it's washed, it's dried, we're ready to get started on it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to score it with a knife on both sides so that we can add the spices to it and get it to start marinating. Okay, so we're going to score this, not too deep, about a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/4 inch, across the entire length of the leg. We're going to put a cross pattern on it. And then we're going to do the other side also. Okay, for the spices, what we're going to do is first thing we're going to do is we're going to douse it with olive oil. Both sides nice and liberally. We're going to spread it nice and even. Then we're going to put some chopped garlic over both sides. Sprinkle just a little bit of oregano. Cover it liberally with the Middle Eastern marijuana. And the secret Hebrew ingredient. I'm not telling you what it is. Maybe I will later, but not right now. Okay, so let's get started. Olive oil. Don't be afraid to use it. That's what it's for. Good supply of crushed garlic. Rosemary. The Middle Eastern marijuana. This really enhances the flavor. And then the secret Hebrew, and then the secret Hebrew ingredient. Add that in. Make sure that it's all nice and covered. Look at that. Beautiful. That's how you know that it's gonna be good. Olive oil. Garlic. Rosemary. Middle Eastern marijuana. And the secret Hebrew spice. When you go into an Israeli cook, when you go in and make sure you pat it down well. Beautiful, look at that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cover it. Alright, so there it is. That's the prepping stage. We're going to let it sit here and we're going to let it hit room temperature. It's going to take about 2 hours for that to happen. And then usually you can throw it on the grill in about 3 hours, 4 hours. I like to let it sit a little bit longer when it's room temperature to the touch. Then I know it's about time to throw it on. You don't really want to let it sit out 10 hours or 12 hours because bacteria builds exponentially after 2 hours, after it cools. So once this hits room temperature, the bacteria is going to build exponentially by the second power every hour, I believe it is. So once it hits room temperature, we'll fire up the grill, we'll get it going, okay? Okay, so I don't endorse any type of special product. Lamb is good. Like I said, I like the Australian lamb, but you can go to any store and get Australian lamb. I prefer the grass-fed free range because the meat's just better. You know, if you can't get kosher, get free range, okay? Okay, so the spices. I'm going to share with you the spices that I use to prepare the lamb and to let it marinate, okay? So I start off with some extra virgin olive oil. Don't get cheap on the olive oil, man. There is a big difference between the extra virgin and just the regular crap in the store. Get the extra virgin. Spend the extra $2. Believe me, it's worth it. The next one is minced garlic. You can get this anywhere, right? You can get this at that store for, you know, under $1 or whatever it is. The next one is some good rosemary. Get some good rosemary. Make sure that it's decent and fresh. If you can find it fresh, if you're growing it, even better. Right? But rosemary doesn't lose its potency or its flavor if it dries. The next one, I know you're going that Middle Eastern marijuana. What are you using there? Well, it's actually za'atar, right? Za'atar, Middle Eastern spice. We put it on everything, man. You go over to the Middle East, you'll eat pita bread with olive oil and za'atar, with hummus, right? So that's the Middle Eastern marijuana. And then, what you've been waiting for, the secret Hebrew spice. Ooh, what is it? What is it? Smoked paprika. Yeah, that's right. You go to Israel, you'll find a lot of smoked paprika. That's one of the key ingredients to Israeli tasting cuisine. Smoked paprika. Don't go cheap on the smoked paprika. Spend $15, right? Believe me, you will know the difference. So, that's the spice palette. We're going to let this sit here and we're going to let it hit room temperature. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man, you know, before the sun goes down. So, maybe about 2 more hours. I'll throw it on the grill. Okay, beautiful. All right, so there it is. Let's get it going. Okay, so we're getting ready to grill that leg of lamb, but the first thing we got to do is start the grill, get it hot. In the meantime, the lamb's been sitting out on the counter for about an hour because we want to bring it up to room temperature. Why? That's one of the tricks of cooking it. Huh? Get it to room temperature, throw it on the grill, and it all cooks nice and evenly instead of having that cold spot in the middle and that burnt outer crust like everybody does. Don't do it that way. Listen to me. This is the way I was told. This is the way I'm telling you, okay? I use real natural wood briquettes. I couldn't find any natural wood coal like I like to use. Go figure, supply chain issues. There's no eggs for Easter. Oh, them poor Easter bunnies. Anyway, I use natural wood briquettes now because that's what I have today. So we're going to use the chimney to light them, and once they get lit, we're going to spread them out on the grill. We're going to put them on one side of the grill, and we're going to cook the leg of lamb very quickly. We're going to put it on there. We're going to get it charred. We're not going to leave it so it burns, but we're going to put it on the grill on the hot spot, and we're going to flip it and flip it and flip it and flip it, and we're going to get it nice and charred. By the time we get it nice and charred, we're going to move it to the other side of the grill where it's got less heat. We're going to put the lid on it. We're going to let it cook for a while. I'm telling you, this is only going to take an hour, start to finish. This is an old secret recipe, huh? And I'm going to show you the way it was showed to me. Right? Let's do it. All right, so the lamb's been setting out. It's room temperature, which is the key. We're going to throw it on the grill. We've started the grill using natural wood briquettes because I couldn't find natural wood charcoal, which is my preferred, simply because the natural charcoal has a flame to it. The briquettes, well, they're briquettes. They're like the other stuff that you light in the bag and you cook hot dogs on. They don't have a real good flame. Hopefully we'll get a good heat source from them to cook this lamb the way that I like it. Okay, so here we have the leg of lamb. It's been sitting at room temperature. We're going to throw it on the grill now. Look at how nice and red that is. Look at those seasonings. Look at them spices. Yum! So I'm going to put that right directly over the hot coals, and I'm going to allow that to char the outside, and then I'm going to flip it. We're going to char the other side, and then after that I'm going to start moving it around so that it's not, it will be directly over the hot coals, but it won't be over the coals long enough to burn it, right? We want to char it to seal in the juices, but we also want to keep the inside pink and juicy, right? Beautiful. Beautiful. That's exactly what it should look like. See how we got the char starting to happen? That's what we want to see. We want to see those char marks like that, and then we'll start moving around. Once it starts getting done, you'll see the meat pull away from the bone. And then we'll move it to the other side of the grill where it's not directly above the coals, and then we'll cover it so that it cooks and that it will cook all the way through. Now remember, this is at room temperature when we throw it on, so it's already fairly warm internally. So it's not going to take long to cook this. And this has been wet cured for a couple of weeks, so this is really tender already. It's not going to take long to cook it. Beautiful. Look at that. That's exactly what we want to see. Look at that. It's already starting to ooze them juices. Okay, so as you can see, the flames are leaping up over the meat. Don't get nervous. Do not fear. Only believe. Yeshua's words, right? We wanted to do that. Chill out. We're going to take care of it. Don't fear. All right? Now the trick to grilling lamb is like the trick to anything that you cook. You got to pay attention to it. Don't walk away from it. Don't go get yourself another beer. Don't do anything else. Watch that lamb. That's what you want to do. You see how quickly it's cooking? This will cook very quickly. That's why you have to stay continually moving it so it doesn't burn. The char is good and it seals in the flavor, but if you burn it, it's going to taste burnt. And nobody likes burnt lamb. You can see right here, it's starting to bleed, which means the internal temperature is starting to rise from the middle. I'm getting ready to move it to the cooler side of the grill, and then we'll cover it up and we'll let it cook. But you'll notice that I'm keeping the fatter parts, the thicker parts, the end and the thigh closer to the hot coals because we want this to cook a little bit more than we want this over here to cook. So once we cover it with the lid, it'll all start to cook evenly, but we'll still keep the thicker sides towards the coal. Is that beautiful or what? Yum. I think it's time to cover it and let it cook. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes, so let's take a look. Yum. Beautiful. Look at that. See, the coals are on this side. We're cooking around the middle and to the outside. But we're keeping the thicker parts towards the coals. Alright, so we got about 125 on the thick side and about 140 on the thin side. So what I'll do is I'll pull it off now, I'll cover it with foil, and then I'll let it set, and the thin side will continue to cook the thicker side, and hopefully it'll all even out to about 140 degrees, okay? Alright, so it's been about 30 minutes or so. We're going to carve into this leg and see what it looks like. Yum! Look at that. How beautiful is that? So we're going to just carve right into it. Normally you would cut the meat from the bone lengthwise and then slice it, keeping the shank bone and not cutting the bone itself, because if you're Jewish, you know what that shank bone is for. If you're not, well, you have a really good leg of lamb there. Yum. Beautiful. Beautiful. There we go. Yum. This is exactly what it's supposed to look like. See how we have some medium rare there? Medium and well on the outside. This is perfect. Yum. And that's what it looks like. And of course, since I'm the chef, I get the first bite. Man, that's good. So that's how I do it. Pasach Shameach, Shabbat Shalom. Extra bonus track, schnitzel. I'm not going to show you how to cook it, but I'll show you what it looks like. Yum.